What if I told you the greatest tragedy in human history wasn't a war or natural disaster? It was a library. The Library of Alexandria once held over 400,000 scrolls. Every piece of knowledge from the ancient world lived there. Mathematics, medicine, philosophy, poetry. Today, most of it is gone forever. But here's what nobody tells you. The Library of Alexandria wasn't destroyed in one dramatic fire. It died slowly, over centuries, through a series of devastating events that changed the course of human knowledge. Let me take you back to where it all began. In 295 BCE, Ptolemy I built something unprecedented, a place where scholars from across the Mediterranean came to study. They copied every book that entered Alexandria's port. Ship captains had to surrender their scrolls for copying before they could trade. The library became the Google of the ancient world. Want to know about astronomy? It was there. Need medical texts? They had hundreds. Mathematical theorems, historical records, literary works. Everything humanity had learned was stored in one place. For 300 years, it flourished. Then came 48 BCE. Julius Caesar was fighting a civil war in Alexandria. His troops were surrounded near the harbor. In desperation, they set fire to Egyptian ships to create a diversion. The flames spread. Part of the library burned that day. Historians estimate 40,000 scrolls turned to ash. But here's the crucial detail. This wasn't the end. The library survived. It was damaged, not destroyed. Mark Antony later gave Cleopatra 200,000 scrolls to help rebuild the collection. The library continued operating for centuries after Caesar's fire. So what really killed it? The answer is more complex than you think. As the Roman Empire grew, Alexandria lost its importance. Scholars moved to other cities. New books stopped arriving. The collection began to stagnate. Then, Christianity became the official religion of Rome. In 391 CE, Patriarch Theophilus received permission to destroy pagan temples in Alexandria. The Serapeum, which housed part of the library's collection, was torn down. Christian mobs burned scrolls they considered heretical, Greek philosophy, pagan poetry, scientific texts that contradicted religious doctrine. All of it fed the flames. The scholar Hypatia tried to preserve what remained. She taught mathematics, astronomy, and philosophy. In 415 CE, a Christian mob dragged her from her chariot and murdered her. With Hypatia, died much of Alexandria's remaining intellectual tradition.
But even this wasn't the final blow.
When Arab armies conquered Alexandria in 641 CE, they found a city already in decline. The Great Library was a shadow of its former self. Here's where legend takes over from history. According to stories written 600 years later, Caliph Omar ordered the remaining books burned to heat Alexandria's bathhouses. The supposed quote, "If these books agree with the Quran, they are unnecessary. If they disagree, they are dangerous." Modern historians call this story fiction. There's no contemporary evidence it happened. The library had likely already disappeared by the time Muslims arrived. So how did we really lose the Library of Alexandria? Not through one catastrophic event, but through centuries of neglect, religious persecution, political upheaval, and changing priorities. Each generation cared a little less about preserving the past. Think about what we lost. Complete works by Sophocles. We have only 7 of his 123 plays. Euclid's other mathematical treatises beyond geometry. Medical texts that could have advanced healing by centuries. Historical accounts of civilizations we know almost nothing about. The Library of Alexandria held the memory of the ancient world. When it died, so did our connection to millennia of human achievement. Here's what haunts historians the most. We'll never know what questions those lost texts could have answered, what diseases they might have helped us cure, what mathematical principles they contained, what stories they told about human civilization. The Library of Alexandria wasn't just a building full of books. It was humanity's backup drive, and we lost it. Some scholars estimate that 90% of ancient Greek literature has vanished forever. Imagine if 90% of today's internet disappeared. That's what we're dealing with. But here's the lesson for our time. Knowledge is fragile. It needs constant protection, copying, and care. The scholars of Alexandria thought their library would last forever. They were wrong. Today, we're digitizing millions of books and documents. We're creating multiple copies in different locations. We're learning from Alexandria's fate. Because the greatest tragedy isn't losing knowledge once. It's failing to learn from that loss. What do you think would be different today if the Library of Alexandria had survived? Comment below with your thoughts. And if this story made you think about how we preserve knowledge today, hit that subscribe button. There are more hidden stories from history waiting to be told.